My wife started protecting her phone more than our marriage. She slept with it under her pillow, changed the password twice in 1 month, and the night I finally saw a message pop up on her screen, my whole world fell apart in 5 seconds flat. My name is Ryan Coleman, and I live in Dayton, Ohio. I am 34 years old, and for the last 6 years I worked as a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm downtown. My wife, Megan, taught 3rd grade at the elementary school 2 blocks from our house. We met in college, got married young, and built a life that looked, from the outside, like exactly what people mean when they say the American dream. We had a small yellow house with a porch swing, a golden retriever named Biscuit, and a 5-year-old daughter named Ellie who still believed her dad could fix anything. Every Sunday we made pancakes together as a family. Every night before bed, Megan and I used to talk about our day, no matter how tired we were. That was the version of my life I thought I had. Looking back now, I can see the cracks had already started forming long before I noticed them. Megan had always been an open book. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, screen up, password free, for years. So when things started changing in the spring, it felt like a stranger had slipped into my house and quietly replaced my wife with someone who flinched every time a notification buzzed. It started small. One evening I reached for her phone to check the weather for the next day, something I had done 100 times before. She practically lunged across the couch and grabbed it before I could touch the screen. "Sorry," she said, laughing it off, "I just don't want you seeing the mess of texts from my sister. She is going through a divorce and it is messy." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? We had never lied to each other about anything that mattered. But then the little things kept piling up. She started taking her phone into the bathroom when she showered. She started charging it on her side of the bed instead of the kitchen counter like always. One night I noticed she had turned off the lock screen previews, so texts no longer flashed up when they came in. When I asked her about it, she shrugged and said, "I just want more privacy. Is that a crime now?" Her voice had an edge to it I had never heard before, sharp and defensive, like I had accused her of something instead of just asking a simple question. I told myself I was overthinking it. I told myself 6 years of marriage earns a certain amount of trust, and I was not going to become the kind of husband who snoops through his wife's phone over nothing. But the changes kept coming. She started leaving the house for what she called long walks, sometimes 45 minutes at a time, always with her phone clutched in her hand like it was glued there. She started smiling at her screen in a way she used to only smile at me. Once, at dinner, her phone buzzed and she actually got up from the table, walked into the other room, and closed the door halfway to answer a text. A text. Not a call. She needed privacy to answer a text message. I finally said something one night after Ellie had gone to bed. "Megan, is everything okay? You've been different lately, and I feel like I'm losing you a little bit." She looked at me across the kitchen table, and for a second I saw something flicker across her face, guilt maybe, or fear, but she covered it fast. "I'm just stressed with work," she said. "The new curriculum changes are a lot. Can we not do this right now?" I let it go, because I wanted to believe her more than I wanted to face the truth sitting right in front of me. Then came the night that changed everything. Megan had fallen asleep on the couch after a long day, her phone resting face up on the coffee table for the first time in weeks. A message lit up the screen. I was not trying to snoop, I was just sitting 3 feet away when I saw the name on the notification, a name I did not recognize, followed by 3 words that made my stomach drop to the floor. "Miss you already." I sat there frozen, staring at those 3 words, feeling my heart pound so hard I thought it would wake her up. My hands were shaking as I picked up my own phone and just stared at the wall, trying to convince myself there was some innocent explanation, even though a part of me already knew there wasn't. I did not sleep that night. I lay next to her, staring at the ceiling, replaying every strange moment from the past 2 months, the locked phone, the bathroom calls, the long walks, the sudden defensiveness. Pieces that had felt disconnected suddenly clicked together into a picture I did not want to see. I thought about the way she used to tell me every little detail of her day, even the boring parts, and how somewhere along the way she had started editing herself around me, giving me the short version while saving the real conversations for someone else. I thought about how many nights I had fallen asleep first, exhausted from work, while she stayed up scrolling in the dark corner of our bed, and I had never once questioned it because I trusted her completely. The next morning, I asked her straight out, "Who is texting you? Miss you already at 11 at night?" Megan, her face went white. She stammered for a second, then tried anger instead of honesty. "You went through my phone after everything, you're the one who broke trust here." I told her I had not touched her phone, I had simply been sitting next to her when the message appeared, but she kept twisting it, kept making herself the victim, kept refusing to actually answer the question. It took almost an hour of back and forth before she finally broke down and admitted his name was Dave, a father from Ellie's school, someone she had started talking to at pickup, someone who had slowly become the person she looked forward to hearing from more than she looked forward to talking to me. The days that followed were some of the worst of my life. I told my parents first, hoping for comfort, but my mother's response cut deeper than I expected. "Marriages go through rough patches, Ryan. Are you sure you didn't push her away somehow? Were you working too much?" My own mother, looking for a reason it might be my fault. I told my older brother next, thinking he would understand, but even he said, "Maybe you two just need a vacation, something to reconnect, don't jump to conclusions." Nobody seemed to want to say the obvious thing out loud, that my wife had spent 2 months hiding her phone from me because she was building an emotional relationship with another man behind my back. It felt like everyone around me had already decided the story before I even finished telling it, like the easiest explanation was always going to be that I had somehow driven her to it, rather than accepting that people are capable of making their own choices, even when those choices hurt the people who trusted them the most. Megan's family was worse. Her sister called me directly and said, "You know, Megan has always struggled with feeling appreciated. Maybe if you had been more attentive, none of this would have happened." I sat on that call in stunned silence, listening to my wife's sister explain to me why her betrayal was somehow a reflection of my failures as a husband. Even Megan herself, once the truth was out, spent more energy explaining her feelings of loneliness than she spent apologizing for the lies. I hit my lowest point about a week later, sitting alone in my truck in the school parking lot after dropping Ellie off, unable to make myself drive to work. I remember gripping the steering wheel and asking myself out loud, in an empty truck, what I had done wrong to deserve feeling this small in my own life. I thought about the pancakes on Sunday mornings, the way Ellie held my hand crossing the street, the version of our family I had been so proud of, and I wondered if any of it had been as real to Megan as it had been to me. I thought about how easy it would have been to just stay quiet, keep pretending everything was fine, and let the years pass the way so many marriages do, both people slowly disappearing from each other while still sharing the same address. For the first time in weeks, sitting in that parking lot, I understood that staying silent was its own kind of surrender, and I was not ready to surrender the family I had built. That night, something in me shifted. I was done asking everyone else to tell me how to feel about my own marriage. I sat Megan down and told her calmly, I'm not going to compete with a man at pickup line for my wife's attention. I need you to decide, tonight, what you actually want, because I refuse to keep living in the version where I'm the only one trying. She cried, she apologized, she promised to end things with Dave completely, no contact, nothing. I told her I appreciated the words, but words were not going to be enough anymore. I asked her to show me her phone, not to control her, but because trust had to be rebuilt with actions, not promises. She hesitated for a long moment, then finally handed it over. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know about how far things had actually gone. I did not yell. I did not throw anything. I simply told her I needed time and space to figure out if I could rebuild trust in a marriage that had already been broken once. I moved into my brother's spare room for 2 weeks, not to punish her, but because I needed to think clearly, away from the house where I had spent months feeling like a fool in my own home. During that time, Megan reached out every single day, not with excuses anymore, but with real accountability. She started seeing a counselor on her own, without me asking her to. She wrote me a letter, actual pen and paper, admitting that loneliness was never an excuse, that she had let a small crack turn into something that nearly cost her everything that mattered. When I finally moved back home, it was not because everything was suddenly fixed. It was because I decided I was not willing to let someone else's mistake erase 6 years of a life I had genuinely loved. We started marriage counseling together, twice a month, and for the first time in a long while, Megan talked to me the way she used to, honestly, without the phone glued to her hand, without the flinching when it buzzed. It has been 8 months now. Megan's phone sits on the kitchen counter again, screen up, no lock, just like it used to. Some nights I still think about that message, "Miss you already," and how close I came to losing everything without ever seeing it coming. But I also think about the night I finally stopped asking everyone else what my marriage was worth, and decided that answer had to come from me first. Trust, once it breaks, never comes back the same shape it was before. It comes back rebuilt, piece by piece, by two people who actually choose to do the work. Megan and I are still choosing that, every single day, and for the first time in a long time, I believe her when she says I am the only one she is choosing it with.